Joe Scarborough is reporting Nikki Haley, South Carolina governor, under consideration for Secretary of State. In terms of substance, you've worked in the national security realm, and in terms of optics, what do you think of that possible pick?
Look, she was an impressive political leader during the shooting in South Carolina, her handling of the Confederate flag controversy. I think that she's someone, as you look ahead in the Republican Party, is someone who's a serious candidate, potentially for future higher office. I have no idea if she knows anything about national security issues, anything about the complexity of the world. I guess we'll find out in hearings, but certainly someone far outside the realm of the national security establishment that one would think to as you look to fill that post.
What do you think of the prospect of a Secretary Haley as opposed to a Secretary Giuliani from the point of view of competence and ideology and unity?
Well, look, I mean, it's less frightening as compared to a lot of the names that are thrown out. To Democrats, it's less frightening to hear a Haley than a Bolton or Giuliani. She doesn't strike fear through us. But again, to Steve's point, what's her experience? What qualifies her to sit down with these national leaders? And the unfortunate thing about Trump is that he hasn't surrounded himself with a lot of the heavyweights on his side. And the biggest concern I think that a lot of people have is how is he going to handle an international crisis? And when he's tested with an international crisis, don't you want him to be surrounded with some foreign policy heavyweights? She doesn't qualify as one. So I think, again, it goes back to me saying that they're throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks.
To stick with foreign policy and national security again, because it's a specialty of yours, if you looked at just the range of names that have been floated, and not just for Secretary of State, but defense, for Chris Kobach, all these names that have got there, can you discern better now what the Trump ideology is, what Trump actually believes? Or do you look at this range of names and say, I still don't have any idea what this guy actually wants to do on the basis of what we have seen so far?
There's no way to look at any of those names and have any idea what the agenda is, what the governing philosophy is at any level. I mean, you don't.
Just to put it simply, right?
I mean, some of the names floated, really are the political equivalent of the cast of the cantina scene from the Star Wars movies. And you have people that simply are not confirmable. And I think that it bears mentioning today. Orrin Hatch shot down cold the notion that they're getting rid of the filibuster. They can lose three votes on any nomination. And so John McCain and Lindsey Graham, for instance, are going to take a very tough line on people who have diluted sensibilities about the intentions of Vladimir Putin, for instance.
Yeah, but also you have Murkowski, you've got Susan Collins, and when people say that Republicans have control of the White House, the House, the Senate, they're not looking at the never-Trump Republicans in the Senate, and I think that they could be a real roadblock going forward. But, to your point, they are throwing a lot of some random names. Like Kobach is the one that scares me the most.